tea and Dhamma talk.
And when it's tea with Dhamma talk, then one forgets all about the injuries and the bruises and the falls.
Yeah, that's it. Keeps me busy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
Jonathan.
Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.
I found it, Jotica.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Already?
I will tell you later. I will send an email where you can find the. Yeah.
Yes, is goed. Dankjewel.
Ajahn is ready.
Jan is ready.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Sawatika, Jan.
Sadhika, Chan, everybody.
Sawadika, Ajahn.
Everyone.
Everdika.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
I have a remark, Sarah.
Yes, please go ahead, Nina. Please
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, you know, also podcast was made in Dutch by someone. And there is a question people often ask. They say, you have so much interest in Abhidhamma and busy with Dhamma. How is your day, every day? I have special, they want to know whether I have special experiences. So I answered, no special thing, and everything very ordinary, because someone else said she had some moments of the feeling of freedom. But I would like to be very careful with this, because as soon as we evaluate the day or what happened, it's always happened to me, even if we don't say it's to me. And I think of Ajah's words, there's no hurry to let go, and no one can do anything. And that is an excellent reminder. And I'm wondering whether Ajahn can add something to people who think that one has to have special experiences with Dhamma, because I think it's just ordinary life and all by conditions. And so it's helpful, I think, to go over this point.
I think that when we ask about Dhamma or the truth, even we don't ask anyone, just oneself, is the moment of understanding the benefit, the worth of understanding what is there. So no other story about other moment and moment of reading Dhamma or moment of Abhidhamma and so on. Just now, is there any moment thinking about the truth that it is so beneficial to understand the truth of what is there? Because in life, no matter what life, whatever is experienced and appear, is that should be known as the truth of it, to be truthful to the truth of what is there. Otherwise, what about any understanding of that which is now appearing? None at all. Just think about moment of study, Abhidhamma, and moment of not studying Abhidhamma. Well, what is Abhidhamma? Each word now If this moment there's no Abhidhamma, no use to talk about it. But when one talks about anything, there should be understanding thoroughly about that object that we are talking about. If no one just want to have clear understanding, they just study the word, not the truth. But in order to understand, even just to be truthful, to what? To the truth of that which is now appearing, because there was a person, the enlightened one, who had experienced the truth of it. And he then, after that, just talk about the truth for the others to listen and to understand what we mean by truth. The truth of what? Not just the truth. The truth of what? The truth of a reality. For example, there is seeing right now. Is it Abhidhamma? What is Abhidhamma? Do we have to call it Abhidhamma? But it's there. Who knows? That it has a reason by conditions. No one can make it arise at all. Just learn to understand the truth of that which is now appearing. This is what one is interested in, understanding the truth. Only taught by the Buddha. No one can teach about this at all. It's there. No one can make it arise. It's conditioned. Without its proper condition, it cannot arise at all. Is this true? And not just for seeing, for everything, even thinking. Can anyone control one's thought? Can one have the idea of, I will think about this? It's there already by conditions. Just to understand each moment in life as it is. No matter we call it Dhamma or Abhidhamma or not any word at all, it's there as it is. But no one understands it. That's why there is the person who see the benefit of understanding the truth. But the truth is so very subtle, very deep, even right now, not understanding that which is there. So how can there be the moment of understanding that which does not appear to be object of understanding? For example, the reality which arises and now experiences an object, it does not show up. Only the object which is seen is there. To what? To that which experiences it. That, not me or anyone at all. Only the reality which arises by conditions to experience such object at such moment only, and then gone. Just develop the understanding whether it's true or not. But when it's true, nobody can change it. That's all. Learning to understand the truth of what is there, little by little, until there can be a moment of understanding more with direct awareness and direct understanding of just one object, only one object. Because now so many objects appear, like flowers and things are around, and sound and thinking, not only one. So how can that one be directly penetrated? It's true, as it's not there anymore, as we think it's gone all the time. And when the understanding of this is more developed, there can be a moment of understand the difference between moment when there's no understanding just one reality at a time, right now, any moment by conditions. So it depends on the listeners whether she or he would like to experience or would like to see the truth of what is there, or just it doesn't matter at all. Just go across it. Never mind. It depends on conditions. For those who know that they can understand the truth, but not by oneself, but by the words from who had enlightened the truth, to be considered whether it's true or not, to be one's own understanding. Even understanding is not anyone. It does not belong to anyone. But it's a reality different from other realities which cannot understand the truth of what is there. And this is what we mean by understanding Dhamma or study Dhamma, or to be interested in knowing the truth, which is now. No one can change the other. But what about the word for thought, for considering, for understanding the truth of whatever is there now?
There are so many misunderstandings about sati because people forget that there has to be understanding, as you say, just understanding one object at a time. So this has to be explained that just sati is not so useful.
There's
And I was, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kuntajan.
peaceful Sudra.
Tanajan, I was just thinking of Nina's question, and earlier on in the week, she asked about the a particular passage which was in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. And one of the passages in there is that she was after was called Intl.Dhamma Patipanna. And I thought, and I was thinking about a translation, and I found one eventually when I thought about it more carefully. But when you say being truthful to the truth, that's exactly what that passage means. Dhamma Patipanna, being truthful to the truth. In other words, following the truth, following the Dhamma accordingly. So I thought you gave a very good translation when you say, and you have said this before, but I really appreciate that saying, being truthful to the truth.
When there's more understanding, one can understand more and more, better and deeper, the truth of reality right now. So very subtle. Just one word, it can lead to more consideration about the truth. For example, what is now appearing is conditioned to arise and falls away instantly. Is it true? Can it be known little by little? Because in a day, there's no time to think of the truth of it at all until hearing more about it and understand it. One lives in the world of ignorance, not understand what is there from moment to moment, which can be developed to experience it, the truth of it, directly. See, there's a way to experience the truth. Is it not benefit to understand the truth as it is? Why it's there, which can be understood, but it takes time to understand from very beginning that what can be directly experienced, the truth is that which is now appearing only. If you think about to understand such and such, which is not there now, how can it be possible? Because it does not show up. It's not the object. But what is the object right now? It's there to understand its truth when not just hearing, but considering about the truth of it, that it's there. Before it's appearing, it does not appear. Before it arises, it does not arise yet, until there are right conditions for its arising to arise. Just to arise, but no condition to make it aware, because as soon as it has arisen, it's gone. Because the condition for it to arise, but after that, it's gone. Nothing more to make it stay long at all.
And Nina, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that many people think that developing understanding is about having some kind of special experience.
Yeah.
And they were probably puzzled as to how someone who studies Abhidhamma could be having any of these special experiences, because they don't seem to,
Yeah.
their idea of a special experience, it doesn't meet with studying Abhidhamma, right?
But especially those people who studied Abhidhamma say this and think that.
Okay, well, anyway, so
today they asked me.
And I think one thing that can be explained to those people is that, as we know, the development of the path is about experiencing or understanding what is real, as opposed and can be directly experienced, as opposed to the thinking about what is real and can be directly experienced, or what are the realities of the present moment, as opposed to what is just thinking about the realities of the present moment. And in that way, it can help them to appreciate that the path develops gradually and doesn't require, it's not about having special experiences, but about having a clearer appreciation of the reality of the present moment.
And I think that when your neighbors, for example, or people who haven't studied the teachings ask, well, you're spending your time studying the Dhamma, so how is your day different? What is special about it? They just interested in what is the purpose of studying so much Dhamma if your life is just ordinary and the same as everyone else's? And I think the answer is that yes, life is very ordinary. Seeing now is very ordinary. Hearing now is very ordinary. Whatever arises is very ordinary. But with more understanding, there can be just a little bit more consideration and understanding of what the ordinary realities are now, that like seeing now, which is gone immediately. And we're used to thinking of it as I who sees. But it's just the reality that arises and is gone, not of any significance or importance. So a little more understanding begins to condition a little less attachment to what is so impermanent in life. And one begins to consider what is really more important in life, not the clinging to one's possessions and friends and one's used to finding important, but a little more understanding, a little bit more contentment with what is conditioned right now. But the outer appearance is just the same.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I was thinking, Jonathan reminded me that so often, I think, Nina, people are captured by this idea of doing something, and that's not an easy habit, if we like, to break, because that's what they've heard from everybody else. You know, you need to be doing something special. And we know it's about understanding, and that's not easy for people to grasp when you don't think about it carefully. They've got into a certain way of thinking, and that's just where they are. It's not an easy one to deal with.
And Nina, I think what Achan was saying was that when people hear about the present moment, the realities of the present moment, if they have the accumulations, then they would be interested in hearing more. But if they don't, then they're not going to be interested.
That's it, yeah.
I think it's what Tana Jan said earlier on, that because there's almost been so much damage done to the teachings, and I agree with what you're saying, Sukhin. But we even know the Buddha in one of his lives, not very far away from when he was enlightened, had a type of wrong view. So people may have the accumulations, but if they are not considering carefully and they don't have the right friends, it's so easy to go down the wrong track. It's almost a bit of a lottery sometimes, I think. Well, we know it's all, by conditions, and these conditions are very complex. But I think we've all got accumulations of wrong view, and how they manifest, which they can do so easily in different lives, even when you have heard the right teaching. So it's a difficult one, and I'm certainly sympathetic towards people, and I think, and as I know you are, Nina, you're supremely patient, as I know Tanajan and Sarah and everybody else is. It's a difficult one, and if you don't, yes, again, I think it's really about having the right friends and being able to consider carefully. And we're not in that particular category. Sometimes it's very difficult.
Jyotika, at the end of the discussion last Saturday, you brought up a question about, or comments about being aware while eating and so on, and stopping akusala arising. And we started to discuss it, but I think it's an important topic to discuss more. And I think it's also relevant to Nina's point, because I think many people think like this when they hear about awareness and understanding. They think about being aware while eating or cooking, and they think that if you fall over, it means there's no awareness at that time, or if you spill your drink, it shows no awareness. But this is just conventional ideas of awareness. So when we refer to sati, the wholesome factor which arises with any wholesome citas, it just arises for a moment and falls away instantly. So it makes no difference whether one is eating or sitting here or falling over. There are still just different moments of seeing, different moments of hearing, different moments of thinking, different moments of attachment, of ignorance, and so on. And sati can slip in with a moments of wise consideration or moments of understanding at any time and fall away. So there cannot be sati for 10 minutes while eating or half an hour while having a walk. This is not the right understanding of what sati is, that only arises with the kusala citas for a moment and guards from unwholesomeness just for that moment and is aware of its object and then falls away. So life goes on as normal. Like Nina said, everything is ordinary as before. There's no light that shines when sati arises because it's just for a moment with kusala citas. But while we think in terms of the conventional situation, like being aware while eating and not being aware while falling over or spilling the tea, then it's not the understanding of the reality of sati. Do you have any comments, further comments, Jyotika? Because I knew this is quite a new area for you to consider, quite different from the usual idea that people have about awareness.
Yes, I have a question about what is sati. What is sati, in fact? Because I learned that sati, I learned it in the meditation, but there was from the beginning, there was said that it is not only in the meditation, it is also in daily life. And now when I am here, I have the feeling that we have different language, that I speak another language, because I do not know what you mean with the reality is there. What is reality? Is it when you sit knowing that it is the experience of hardness or softness, the elements of then it is the same as I learned for sati. And so there's confusion at the moment in me.
at the moment, what is touched? Is it a chair or is it hardness at this moment? You can answer me, you know that it's just hardness that is touched. So at a moment of understanding of what is actually appearing, not just repeating the words, but actually understanding what is touched at this moment, sati must be there with the understanding. And this is different from when there is the idea of, now I'm sitting, I will be aware of sitting, I will be aware of the hardness and whatever realities, because then it's the idea of I who will do something, or I who will try to be aware, different from when there is just a moment of understanding with awareness. So in the beginning, if there is no understanding of what is real now, if one thinks that the eating is real or the touching the computer is real, there cannot be the understanding of what sati is, that is aware of what is real at this moment. So that's why we talk a lot about different realities now, those realities that experience an object, such as seeing now or hearing or thinking, and those realities that don't experience anything, such as the hardness or the sound or the visible object. Because unless there is some wise considering and understanding about these different realities as dhammas, not as self, not as I who sees or I who hears or something that is touched, then there cannot be the understanding of what awareness is, that is aware of a reality. Sati, the mental factor, it arises with any kind of kusala, even at moments of generosity or kindness, any kusala. But now we're talking about the sati, which is aware of reality, which appears. So people are used to thinking of being aware while lifting the teacup or when picking up the pen. But this is just a thinking of a conventional idea of awareness, not the awareness of what is experienced, what appears right now at this moment. Just a reality, not self at all, or not something at all. So, like you say, you've heard about awareness and you've heard about realities in the meditation center. But if there is the idea of sitting and trying to be aware, then what is behind that trying? There must be the idea of I, and there must be the attachment trying to get a result. So that is the opposite of the detachment that develops with understanding, which develops without any expectation or any trying to get a certain result.
But
And I think, oh, sorry.
Carry on.
I was just going to say that I think when I first went to Thailand, I'm sympathetic, Jyotika, to your point of, this is very common, because I remember when I first went to Thailand, I had no idea of the difference between, or I never even heard about Paramatta Dhammas and what's called conventional Dhammas, which Sarah's been talking about, the Samuti Satcha, or conventional truths. I'd never heard about those. And I think this is a very important one to get to understand properly, as Sarah has alluded to there, that there are two, we have conventional reality, we commit Samuti Satcha, which is called conventional truths, like trees and tables and things and whatever that we use to communicate with, but they are not realities. And it's important to distinguish those and consider them carefully. What is hardness that may be appearing now? What is visual object that may be appearing now? These are not concepts; these are realities. And Tanajan and Sarah is always reminding us about these different realities as opposed to the concepts. And I remember when I was in Thailand. I'd never heard of these things, and so I was quite confused when I first met Tanajan, what she was saying, and she said to me simply, I remember saying, well, look, I'm really confused. I can't quite understand what you're saying, and I was wondering who was right, these meditation places or what Tanajan said, and she said, would you help me try and figure out what's right here? And I remember her saying to me that anybody can say anything, and it's really up to us to consider very carefully what's being said, and does it seem in accordance with what is true? So when we talk about realities, the hardness that may be appearing or thinking that may be appearing, we can begin to get a better idea of what ultimate realities are, and are very different from the conventional truths.
But I learned that there are 4 ultimate realities, like Rupa and Sita, Sika, and Nibbana. These are the 4 ultimate realities. And so the reality is then as Chitta or Chitta, Sika of Rupa, I think. What's coming to.
Yeah, that's right. That's the ones that has to be appearing now. It'll be one of those 3, Chitta, Cetasika, or Rupa. And the more we can understand what those, we can say, because they are kind of conventional terms in a way, they are terms, but they represent realities. And that's another aspect of Dhamma that we need to sort out when we talk about Rupa. Well, it represents reality. It's not just it's a word, it's a valuable word, valuable part of language to help us understand that but it refers to a reality, as does Chitta and Cetasika. So the more we can get a better understanding of what Rupa is now, for example.
If I should have waited till to hear about it or to study on it, then it would have taken. If I should have waited to do something with it until I knew a little bit about, or understood a little bit about myself, it took, I don't know, so much years for me.
Well, this is really important, though. This is what the teachings are about. It's called pariyatti. The more we can understand, this is the foundation for wisdom. And if that's not put in place, that foundation, pariyatti, the correct pariyatti, then we will not be able to go further. Yes, it does take a long time. It is a long time. It's a long, slow process. And as Tanajan reminds us, we need to be very patient. And if we're, like many people can be captured by this idea of doing something, and then they've got no understanding of what's called correct pariyatti. They just think, Abhidhamma is about learning all these different numbers and things like that, and words that you've just talked about there, but they don't connect it to the realities of daily life, then it's going to be impossible for them to go further. So yes, I agree, it does take time, but it's essential time and very worthwhile time. And if that time is not, and if we haven't got good friends around us to help us with that, it's very easy to go astray.
But if
it's now, Jyotika. So life now, it is Chitta, Cetasika, and Rupa. We don't need to talk about Nibbana. So when you talk about hardness, it is now, it's Rupa now, whatever word we call it, at the moment of touching. We don't have to say, I'm touching Rupa or I'm touching hardness. That tangible object is experienced at this moment. So even if death were to come now, there's still reality at this moment to be understood, whatever it's called. So when we talk about the development of sati with understanding, it is the awareness of what appears now that leads to the development of satipatthana. So it's not a matter of thinking, I don't have enough time or this takes more study, because it's daily life at this moment, no matter whether one's falling over or eating lunch or cleaning the house. There is hardness that is touched right now. There is seeing which sees, there is hearing which hears. We don't have to stop and say, oh, this one is Chitta and that one is Cetasika. It's daily life from moment to moment.
But this I can understand, Sarah, what you are saying, because then I think, oh, there's not that big difference between sati, what I know or what I learned in the meditation, the sati, together with sampajano.
Right. Which is understanding, which is panya.
Yeah.
So sati and
But
sampajanya.
When I'm sitting now, I know that there's this contact from the sitting. I feel, I know I don't need to say it, but if that is the reality, what is there now, then I understand.
And the main point is that it's not I who knows anything, because it is sampajanya, it is panya cetasika, which may or may not arise now to understand the hardness or the seeing or what appears. And it may not arise, and that doesn't matter at all, because whatever arises is gone. But it's not I who know anything. It's not I who can be aware. And the object of that understanding of the sati sampajanya is not I am eating or I am falling over. It's just a reality which arises and is gone instantly, not of any significance at all.
But it is tasting, for example.
But like now, is there any tasting now? So if there's no tasting, what about hearing? What about thinking?
But is seeing.
And even when eating or even when seeing now, we don't have to say I'm seeing, or I'm tasting.
No.
Because the reality arises and is gone far too quickly. And no I to know or I to be aware. Just seeing for a moment and then gone. Hearing for a moment and then gone. Tasting, gone.
And
Not
when you
anyone
say
who's taste.
And when you say it's the same as you've learned in the meditation center, I think one has to ask oneself whether the knowing is any different from the kind of knowing that anyone could have, whether they've heard the Dhamma or not. So you mentioned knowing that when I'm sitting, there's contact with the hardness. But is that anything special, or is that something that anyone can do, if you like, can note, where if they're asked, is there contact now where you're sitting? Because the realities about which the Buddha spoke are not capable of being directly known except with understanding. So for there to be awareness and sati and the sampajanya, the understanding, panya has to arise by conditions and experience the reality as object. And that the conditions for that are not, okay, now I'm sitting and there's contact, or now I'm reading and there's visible object, or now I'm hearing and there's sound. And one of the commentaries to the Satipatthana Sutta says that anyone or any animal can know what is happening at that level, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, experiencing heat or cold through the body.
Yeah, but they can know, but they do not know.
Well, how do we know they don't know? But let's forget about animals for a moment. Let's say the ordinary person can know, okay, now it's coldness, now it's heat. So that can't be awareness and understanding, because it's easy. Anyone can do it, can know it. So we're talking about something that is more subtle, and also something that does not happen, a knowing that is not the result of directed attention, because when panya arises, it does so by conditions, not because we are directing our attention to something. Like when eating, we're paying attention to the eating or the taste or the softness of the food or emotion in the mouth or whatever. Yeah. But when the Buddha spoke about the monk who eats his food mindfully, he's not talking about that kind of directed attention. He's talking about the fact that awareness and understanding arise because they have been developed to such an extent that even when there is the enjoyment, if you like, of eating, there is mindfulness also, awareness of the characteristic of some kind, one of the many realities that could be the object of awareness at that time.
In Jyotika, you might like to ask yourself that the kind of awareness that you experience while meditating, do you have an idea that such awareness cannot happen in daily life? It's something that you must sit down in order to have arise.
No.
So you think that that kind of awareness can and does happen in daily life, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It is possible in daily life. Yeah, I think so. But I learned it most in a meditation sitting. Yeah. But it's a subtle difference, but the difference is made done by Panya.
Are you saying that the awareness that you are referring to during meditation has no panya? There's no panya involved?
I don't know if it is Panya. I think it is Panya, but
Okay.
I do not want to. I don't know. But it is true that I learned that pay your attention to it. So the doing is in it. And now I am in a situation that I feel that every time when I come here, something new is coming. It is a big journey, like with discovery, that the I is sitting everywhere. Is active in everything I see. It is in setting the intention. It is in setting an intention. It was the talk about the precepts. It was. Now I think it is when I am expecting something. Is it I? Is it an I activity? So there's another discovery. So and then the being mindful. I thought I understood it what Sarah said, but I do not understand it when I hear John. So.
And this is the development of the wise considering, beginning to know that what one thought was clear and understood is not so clear and understood, and that there's much more ignorance that we realized, much more assuming of self that I can do, I can be aware, I can follow the precepts. So gradually, like you say, one brick at a time has to be removed through the right, wise considering that, as you pointed out, there are only cheetahs, chaitasikas, and rupas, no I to do anything at all. So the journey you describe of considering and having to gradually let go all one's preconceived ideas is the same for everyone, as there's more and more understanding of Dhammas now. So many people here had similar experiences in the past, so common.
Yes,
so
we've all been
we
through
understand it.
We've all been through the same experience. So you can be assured from that.
You have.
Oh, yes, of course,
this
because
whole-
we all start with a lot of wrong view and fixed ideas about what the teaching is about, or what understanding is, or how it's developed. And so it's the normal kind of experience. What you're going through is the normal experience.
And more importantly, it's not just in the past. The accumulations are still there, so it can happen again in the future.
Isn't that right, Ajahn? You've seen it with all of us over the years.
Let's hope. So expectation is already an
It's the big enemy. Is the big enemy. Is the big
Really?
hindrance.
The clinging, the idea of I getting certain results, trying to do to get certain results, expecting certain results, just leading to disappointment after disappointment.
But how do you live with nothing, not doing nothing?
I think this is a question that Nina's neighbors are asking her. It's beginning to live with the understanding of what the truth of life is at this very moment. So whether there's any understanding or not, there is just seeing, hearing, thinking, different realities arising and falling away. So life is just the same, but instead of clinging to more and more idea of self that can do, that can practice, that can be aware, that has expectations, gradually there's a little more understanding that seeing itself arises by conditions, not by I making seeing arise, and falls away instantly. Hearing now, it's not by my intention or my making hearing last. It just arises, hears whatever sound there are conditions to hear, and then is gone.
Yeah.
So life goes on as normal, but with a little less clinging to the idea of I that can do, that can be aware, that can practice.
And Maeve, are you about to add something, Maeve?
Sorry?
Just a sympathetic comment, Jyotika, because it seems it's almost paradoxical, but we keep using the I to dismantle the I, and it just doesn't work.
And that doesn't work.
I suppose, you know, when Ajahn talks about the truth, it must be the gradual dawning of, as you're realizing the all pervasiveness of that idea of the self. And I suppose concurrently with that is an idea of not wanting to have that. So, you know, getting caught up in, again, expectations and wanting things to be different to the way they actually are. And Sarah, you mentioned how important attachment was a little earlier, and before that, Sundara talked about not doing, you know, and how foreign that is to our way of approaching most things, of trying to understand. There's a doingness about it all. So it is a process of really letting everything we think has worked in the past, letting it go. But easier said than done, Jyotika. So yes, it's interesting though. You know, it is. It's not like it's not tedious in that so many things in life can be, because there's always something else that can be revealed, I think, and that is probably the value of these discussions. That just, moment by moment, it's like, oh, oh.
And another of those paradoxes is that when we hear that it's not about doing, we think, well, if it's not doing something, then it must mean doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not about doing or not doing. It's really not about doing something or doing nothing. It's nothing to do with doing at all, whether it's something or nothing. It's about understanding. And understanding is not a doing. Understanding is grasping, getting the point, first intellectually and then by more direct means. So it has to come from hearing and considering. That's the only way that understanding can develop. And neither of those things are a doing. Hearing is not doing it. It happens or it doesn't if the right occasion. And considering is not a doing either, because it's an involuntary reflection on what has been heard rather than a positive attempt to analyze.
Ajahn actually said earlier today that there was a way to understand the truth, and I assume that what you're describing, Jonathan, is the way to understand the truth, and that's with the detachment that means that there is not that doing or not doing, or it's a different kind of.
Yes, there are factors or conditions that are relevant for the understanding to develop, and these are beyond anyone's control or power to influence even.
And it is a real letting go when there is more and more understanding that nothing is to be done, nothing, it doesn't matter what is the object of awareness, no one can make it arise. So one begins to live more easily and naturally, not thinking that one has to have a meditation time or go to a special place or have peace and quiet or have enough time for one's study, because it is just this moment. So living very naturally, easily, and beginning to develop understanding by conditions, little by little. Letting go of the burden of trying to do and having all those expectations and thinking that one must set aside a certain time.
It sounds easier, yeah.
And Jyotika, another way to put all this in is that we're not talking about doing or not doing. We're talking about there will be doing and always be doing something, because Chitta Sika will rise and fall non-stop until Parinibbana. So there's always some doing or the other. What we are discussing here and what we're pointing out at is a particular kind of doing, which we call wrong practice and wrong conditioned by wrong understanding, which is the biggest obstacle to the development of right understanding.
Thank you so far.
Please excuse me, I have a comment. Even having spent time in a meditation center to discover that it is not necessary, there is no self to orchestrate the arising of panya, to create conditions, circumstances to be around people, a specific person in a specific location, and panya will arise. Having spent time doing that was not a waste of time, because I discovered that hardness, softness, the experience of which at meditation center or in daily life. So what's the point in going to the meditation center? So there can be, to be resourceful and use everything to further understanding. But on seeing this, on experiencing this, then just give it up.
Ajahn, would you like to add some comments?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Yes. Is there any truth now?
I think Jyotika has switched off her video, so I'll answer for her. Yes.
For a while.
So what is it? To be truthful to the truth. When there is truth, a truth now, what is that truth? This is the development of understanding from hearing and considering, and then right understanding can answer rightly, not wrongly, because it's true. What is the truth of this moment? Is there any truth now?
This overwhelming feeling.
Okay, is that Abhidhamma?
It belongs to Abhidhamma, I think. Feeling, yeah.
When there's no understanding of what Abhidhamma means, how can there be the understanding that now even such moment is so real, it's conditioned, no one force it or control it or make it arise at all. It's there already. That's why no need to think about what will be future moment, because now what is there should be known, that it's just like now, no matter future or past or present. What is there is conditioned, uncontrollable, and then gone. This is the meaning of Dhamma, which is Abhidhamma. Nobody can control, and actually they cannot be taken for anything, because it's there just for very, very short. It's conditioned to be there, and then no more. Is that true?
Yes, true.
That's why can it be known little by little, one by one, more direct, little by little, until just only one appear to be known clear. Then when they arise together so very rapidly. And this is the meaning of Dhamma, which is Abhidhamma. No matter it's what, it has its own characteristic, its own function, its own conditions for its arising, and cannot stay at all. Just very shortly and then gone. This is the absolute truth, or Abhidhamma. Each Dhamma is Abhidhamma, and it is there now. In every moment, there must be something. When there's no understanding, we take it for I or thing. But actually, we have to learn to understand the truth, to be truthful to the truth of that which is now appearing. What is seen, when there is no considering about its truth, how can there be the moment of letting go? That as not me, not anything at all, because actually it's gone completely, never to arise again in samsara. Is it not true? And when it's so true, it is the first noble truth, the arising and falling of whatever is now. We don't have to wait. We don't have to look for. We don't have to go anywhere at all. because it is right now unknown as usual, because it's covered up by ignorance from eons and eons ago. Very, very, very difficult to lift it, to open it up. But the moment of hearing about it, there can be moment of understanding the truth of it and be truthful to the characteristic of that which cannot be changed and its condition just there and then gone. This is the absolute truth. So learning or studying Dhamma doesn't mean just the word talking about it, but the characteristic of that which is known according to what Buddha said. There can be understanding of any word about any reality in Tipitaka, because what is there as conditioned reality cannot be taken for anyone, because no one can make it arise and no one can stop it from falling away instantly. That is the meaning of sunyata, nothing again, because before it's arising from nothing to be something and then nothing. That's all, from moment to moment. The stream of Bhavanka not experience anything, just like moment of being fast asleep, like the moment of birth and death. No experiencing any object through the sixth way. That's why nothing can appear as the object of Bhavanka. It's a stream of Bhavanka until it's interrupted by sensual process and mind process. Never last, just arise and fall away, that's all. This is life the way it is. But the truth is that there must be a reality which has its own characteristic, its own function, its own proximate cause. And the manifestation is different because of different characteristics, just like now. So anyone can hear the teachings about the truth anywhere, anytime. Only when there is hearing, there can be moment of remembering what is said, what is asked, what is talked about. And then after that, after considering, there can be understanding of what we're talking about. Even Abhidhamma, even Anatta, no one. It doesn't mean that there is nothing, because there must be activity like usual, getting up, doing something, and so on. But all are dhammas, different dhammas. But when there's no understanding, it's I of things all the time, from life to life. That's why it's so very, very subtle. But it can be little by little, understanding the characteristic which is there. Not just when one reads, open the books, or listen to the word, but not understanding that it's just talk about the truth of what is there now, anytime. For example, seeing is a reality. It appears, and there can be moment of listening to the truth of it. It is a reality which is conditioned to arise to experience an object through the eye sense, and it arises at the eye base. See, and this is a truth. Beginning to understand that that cannot be taken for anything at all. It's only one characteristic of a reality. Whatever arises falls away, never to return in samsara, no matter when. No one can find it because it's completely gone. So there is no I. Learning to have more confidence of the truth of each reality which appears, by then, little by little, there can be a moment of attending, of thinking in the beginning about that which is there, which has heard, like seeing now. No thought about it, just hearing more and more. And who knows at what time there can be the development of understanding the nature of a reality which sees. It arises, otherwise they cannot be seen. It's conditioned to arise just to see and then gone. How can there be anyone seeing gone completely? It cannot be taken for me or mine or what. It's just that which is there. And this is the meaning of Abhidhamma. Dhamma is whatever is real, and Abhidhamma, no one can control. It does not belong to anyone at all. Just beginning to have the idea of letting go of wrong understanding, which has been developed from life to life, on and on. So much to know because it's there and gone very, very rapidly. And this is the truth. So having heard about this, it's not me, but it's the moment of understanding or no understanding by conditions. Some may have very, very clear understanding, but some cannot have anything understood as it is. Just hearing and then gone. But it's there all the time, hearing again, considering it again, and beginning to understand what is right, what is true, and what is not. And this is satya, to be truthful to the truth of that which now appearing, but not long at all. Because at moment of thinking, at moment of hearing, they cannot be seen together. See, just begin to have a little clear understanding of a reality and a moment, different moments, from moment to moment. No me, no one. But without the realities conditioned to arise and perform its function, there would be nothing, no one at all. Just develop the truthfulness to the truth, and that understanding will gradually letting go the wrong, the very strong clinging to what is there as something all the time, as we use the term upadana, see, but it is this moment so very, very strong that it cannot let go the idea of something from whatever is there to be seen, even right now. To understand the truth, that's all. It's panya, right understanding, which can understand what is there as it is. No one, true or not, even from hearing, it can come in any moment unexpectedly from hearing again and again and again. It developed little by little to have moment of considering what is there. No I who is thinking, but even that moment is conditioned to let go the I from whatever is there, no matter it is feeling, vedana, or memory, sanya, or whatever, like or dislike of what degree. And this is the understanding of Dhamma, because Dhamma is not in the book, it's not at the meditation center, anywhere, anytime, just right now, and then gone.
So the chitas and the chitasikas are all the time working together.
That's why Buddha taught a lot about each different moment. How many cetasikas arise with such citta? For example, seeing is conditioned by kamma. 7 cetasikas are enough to condition this moment of seeing. It's there just to see. See, it doesn't perform the function of thinking, liking, and so on, but just see only a moment. And this is how much wisdom, the great wisdom of the Buddha, who enlightened the truth more than this, much more than this, unexpected wisdom. Nobody can understand how much is there, different from the others, no matter those in heaven or Brahma or anywhere in the universe. So understanding the truth is the best thing in one's life because it can condition more understanding after hearing again. No, expectedly. Who knows what would be the next moment of understanding the truth or hearing more about it with more interest, more truthful to the truth.
I need a lot of confidence.
So each word of the Buddha can be understood of its reality. And what is the confidence of the truth? Right understanding develop to be so strong enough for the reality right now to show up as it is, clear, a little clearer, until no doubt about what we heard about the truth of it, arising and falling away instantly as nimitta. That's why each word should be understood clearer and clearer, not just remember. So what is meant by meditation, see, it is not only hearing and following instantly, but what is it? Without understanding, how can anyone just follow that which one does not understand? The purpose? What for? Why does one listen to the words of the teachings? To understand what now, that which is there. Whether it's true, as he said. So when it's so true, one can imagine what is meant by enlightenment. Not just this, much more than this, because this is only intellectual understanding, while seeing right now, even now that it sees, there's so many seeings, many processes of seeing. Don't count about the other process in between. That's why this is life, and ignorance cannot understand it. And when it is ignorance without attachment, it's so funny, see, because even if that is not known. I was looking for something which is there in front, see. If there is attachment, taking it for something, it's not ignorance only. But when there's no attachment or aversion, but it is the moment of not knowing anything, even it's there. So realities are there, but it depends on how much understanding to understand it. For example, right now, all Dhammas, each moment, different ones by conditions, beginning to see that no one can make it arise. It's there already. Even thinking right now, no one can make it arise by conditions. Just think about what is experienced before in different manners, by different conditions, see? All are conditioned reality. Otherwise, that cannot arise at all. And there's so many conditions. That's why in order to understand the conditions of reality, there must be the understanding of the truth of that which is different from other. For example, right now, seeing is not that which is seen. See, is there any moment thinking about that? Consider each one as different one. The experiencing cannot be that which is seen at all. So at this moment, what is seen already, but the experiencing is not known because it doesn't show up, no idea about it, no thought about it, no beginning to understand that it's there, that which experiences, so that the object which appears now is experienced. See? So many unknown realities from day to day, from moment to moment. So why does one go to meditation center? See, attachment, just wanting something. But what does one expect? Going there for what? Not clear, just the eye. Wanting to what? Don't know. See, because what should be known is right now.
So,
No need to go anywhere at all.
so the attachment is helping being less attached?
Having wrong understanding, wrong practice, Silapata Pramasa, Titupatan,
And it's
yes, please.
true, and it's true that a kusala like attachment can be a condition for kusala. There can be moments of kusala, and it can be the object of understanding, but it's a very roundabout way. The direct path is the development of understanding of reality from this moment, not accumulating more and more attachment and wrong practice in case there might be moments of understanding. So the path that you mentioned before always begins with right understanding at this very moment, no matter where and when and how, not the thinking of a special place, even though there can be moments of understanding at that time. But the main hindrance to the development of the path is the wrong understanding. They're clinging to the wrong idea that I can do something. And I think actually Eve made a good point when she said, just let it go, so that one doesn't keep obsessing about thinking about a special time or special practice or special place. Because life is, you mentioned life is short. It's so short, it's just this moment. So the understanding has to be now. So one has to let go all those ideas one has about special times or special ways in order to understand how precious the opportunity is right now to consider and understand a little bit more, no matter how life goes, no matter whether one's falling over or sick or grumpy. There's reality. Like when you mentioned at the beginning that you had an overwhelming feeling, even that, it's reality right now. It can be awareness and understanding even now when there's overwhelming feeling anytime.
Please excuse me. Yes, this reminds me of a conversation I had with some yogis visiting, I don't know, from Hong Kong or Taiwan a couple of years back at the Dhamma Center. And I spoke to a lady from one of the yogis, and I told her that it's so sad because people keep returning to the meditation center for some sort of special experience, some sort of blissful jhana or something or other. And maybe there were moments there, but they have this distorted thinking that going to this place somehow enhances or conditions the arising of panya, of understanding. And I said to her, you keep continuing even though it's not satisfying. And she looked at me and there was a moment, a flash in her eyes, an aha moment. I got it. But still people are loyal to a teacher, to a teaching, to a place, if they had a positive experience, which can happen also in other places, that there is some sort of, I don't know, magic there, and this is nonsense. So I think a more accurate way of putting it would be going to the meditation center to have greater understanding of ignorance. But still, even that is not necessary because that can be experienced in daily life, and life is for living, not for sitting in a meditation center. Please excuse me. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve.
And that is being truthful to the truth too.
Wilhelm, when Jyotika mentioned about Chitas and Chaitusikas and Rupas, and I thought about your questions on the list and from last week about Chitta and Chaitasikas. I'm sorry, I've been too busy these few weeks to answer anything much on DSG, but we can discuss it a little bit more now if you would like to. Are you there, Wilhelm?
Right, Wilhelm, okay.
Yes, that would be nice if you could.
So we discussed last week that, as you know, Chitta is always accompanied by Chaitasikas, 7 or more, depending, and they arise together and condition each other. And Chitta is always the leader, but it has to be attended by the Chaitasikas, like the king has to be attended by the ministers, and each one has to perform its function when it arises, and they fall away together. And you were wondering about whether the Chaitasikas are, to use your words, packed onto the Chitta like parasites or co-travelers. Co-travelers, okay. I wouldn't refer to them as packed onto the Chitta. I think they arise together, perform their functions, fall away immediately. And you gave the metaphor of the trains in Switzerland that go through the tunnels with all the different vehicles on top, or which all have different roles they're going to play. And we're familiar with those because we used to spend a lot of time in Switzerland. And I understand what you're saying. And you could say in a way that when the Chaitasikas don't arise, when the Kusala and Akusala don't arise, the Asya, Anusya, the latent Chaitasikas are like the Akusala Chaitasikas, the Anusya, like microbes which are carried by the Chitta, ready to condition its arising when the train reaches its destination and they come off the train. So in that sense, but I think we can only take metaphors so far. When they condition the arising of akusala chaitasikas, like at the moment of attachment. Now, the attachment arises, performs its function, and then falls away completely. So it's not loaded packed onto the Chitta, or it just arises, performs its function, and is gone.
Yeah,
And
but yeah, okay.
Carry on, yes.
What I'm wondering about is, how they are connected, how Chitta and Chaitasika are connected. I understand, okay, they're arising it seems to me they are like independently doing that and just, conditioning, but is there a connection?
The connection is by the different conditions which mean that those particular chaitasikas, like at a moment of seeing, the 7 chaitasikas that arise have to arise in order for seeing to arise. And the seeing has to arise in order for those chaitasikas to arise. So the connection is by way of the different conditions that we discussed last week. The fact that the previous Chitta has to have fallen away, the fact that the Chitta and Chaitasikas have to mutually condition each other, and so by way of different conditions. And if we're talking about seeing, the seeing has to arise as a result of past karma, and the Chaitasikas that arise with it have to also arise at that moment as a result of that past karma. So that past karma is another condition or another connection. So there are many different conditions which bring about the arising of this moment of seeing with the various Cheta seekers. If the visible object now had not impinged on the eye sense, that seeing and those Cheta seekers couldn't arise. So that's another condition or connection, the visible object impinging on the eye sense. If there was no eye sense, there could not be any seeing. Someone who's blind from birth, no conditions for seeing to arise. And likewise with the Cheta seekers with the seeing. So the connections all come down to different conditioning factors and the paccaya and the realities which are conditioned, the paccayapana, in this case, the seeing and the Cheta seekers.
So when you say, for instance, feeling cannot arise, if seeing hasn't happened, are you talking about a lapse of time in between? So in the sequence of the Chetas, in the like seeing process, or you know?
So feeling Vedana, it's a good example, has to arise with every single Cheta and fall away with every Cheta. So Cheta cannot arise without Vedana, Vedana cannot arise without Cheta and the other Cheta seekers. So at a moment of seeing, in this case, it's neutral feeling. That neutral feeling, conditioned by the same karma, arises at the same instant as the Cheta and falls away immediately with the Cheta. And then the next Cheta arises with its feeling accompanying it, and they fall away together. And the next Cheta with its feeling fall away together, and so on. And then when Lobha arises, the Cheta with Lobha is accompanied by pleasant or neutral feeling, and it falls away again with the Cheta with Lobha. So never any time difference. The Cheta seekers always arise exactly with the Cheta and fall away exactly as the Cheta falls away.
Yes, but there is this immeasurable amount of Chetas along with their Chetasikas arising. So isn't there possibly a I don't know, some sort of it's sort of like the nimitta arising for the Cheta. I mean, there is a continuation of the same, but possibly slightly different because it's accumulated kind of feeling. Do you know what I mean? Or with all the other Chetasikas as well.
Can you give an example? So, for example, let me give an example, the Cheta with attachment. So at the moment of arising, that Cheta with attachment is accompanied, let's say, by pleasant feeling and falls away instantly. And if there is awareness, it is aware of the nimitta of that attachment or that pleasant feeling, because that attachment and pleasant feeling have fallen away. So it's the nimitta of the reality, which is directly experienced or understood. But the pleasant feeling fell away with the Lobha. But the object of awareness and understanding can be any reality. So it could be the Lobha that has just fallen away by way of the nimitta, or it could be the pleasant feeling, one reality at a time, one object at a time. So even though the Cheta arises with many Cheta seekers, at a moment of understanding, there is the Cheta with understanding and other wholesome Cheta seekers, and the object is just one reality, or the nimitta of one reality at that moment. And then the Cheta with understanding falls away.
Okay, how is it with I mean, can there be a Vedana without Sanya? I mean, they're arising together, obviously, so they have to be there. I accept that formality, but the content of the feeling, can that arise without it knowing that there is there is perception?
So when Sanya arises, as it does with every citta, it just marks and remembers the object. It doesn't feel anything. It isn't attached to anything. It just marks and remembers the object. The feeling that arises with any citta, it just feels pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That's all. It doesn't know anything about the object. It doesn't remember it. It doesn't contact it. It doesn't like it or dislike it. It just feels pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral at that moment, and then it's gone. And so we learn about, like now, moments of pleasant feeling, moments of unpleasant feeling, moments of neutral feeling, whatever Vedana it is, it just arises with the citta, is gone instantly. So it actually doesn't matter in the slightest whether it's what kind of Vedana it is now, because whatever Vedana is, it's gone. It's totally insignificant. Usually in a day, we cling so much to pleasant feeling and search so much for pleasant feeling, like from the meditation experience or anything. But it's actually just a moment of experiencing in a pleasant or unpleasant way and then gone.
Okay.
So the different Chaitasikas arise with the citta. They have their own characteristic, their own function, and their own way of manifesting, and then gone instantly. Each one with its particular task, like the different ministers with the king. Each one has its duty, its job, its nature, but they have to arise together, come together, and go together.
So it's just some kind of automatism that just happens
by conditions.
Okay, there are conditions, but there is no connection otherwise in terms of content. You know what I'm always, you know, I accept it for, I mean, I understand the formality of the conditions, but I'm sort of assuming that there is some content gathered by those, let's say, by the Chaitasikas, and that somehow this whole picture of reality, of so-called reality, is arising. And
so this is why we have to distinguish between the Chittas and Chaitasikas, which are vipaka, which are just result, like seeing and hearing. So the Chaitasikas at those moments are also just result. They don't accumulate. But the kusala or akusala Chittas and Chaitasikas accumulate. So if there's liking now for a particular sound or sight, that liking and the pleasant feeling with the liking accumulates. So it becomes more and more common to like that particular sight or flavor, like the taste of coffee or the particular visible object that is seen. So that liking with pleasant feeling and akusala sanya, marking and remembering, they all accumulate, and all the other factors to condition more in future. So this is another condition, the condition that we discussed last time, which leads to the habitual accumulation of those particular tendencies. And that's why we have the discussions, because the reflecting, like which Jyotika was referring, and the considering about the embedded idea of self, the wise considering and letting go of that idea can accumulate each time we hear and consider it. There's a little bit more understanding, a little bit more wise reflection. That's the point of discussion. And the content, we could say, what about, so there's just the arising of the citta and the cetasika, and what is experienced is the object. So at a moment of seeing, the object is visible object. At the moment of thinking now about seeing, the object is the concept or the idea about visible object. So the wise reflection about the nature of realities accumulates to appreciate more and more through, by means of the concepts, what the realities really are. So we have to distinguish between the cittas, the cetasikas, and the object, which can be either reality or concept.
Okay.
Little bit clearer, a little bit.
I just want to understand, Wilhelm, your question that various characteristics are experienced, and then after the experience of a visible object, so to say, and each citta has done its function and they all happen in an exquisite order, then there are bhavangas and there's thinking about it, and that's how it comes together as a concept, usually with ignorance, wrong view, and so on. Is that what you were alluding to, how the characteristics come together, so to speak?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. I think so. That's coming close to probably what I'm, what I'd like to understand. I have an assumption that all these cetasikas, all these consciousness elements, that they somehow, congregate to make this one picture of knowing, or and and how that is to be understood.
Yes, well, I'm glad. I appreciate all your questions and commentary. I'm learning about yes, thoughts versus thinking as a reality, and thoughts are concepts, and concepts don't experience anything, and there is thinking about what is seen, the visible object, but for myself, for this, yeah, usually ignorance, usually wrong view. Yeah, thank you, Wilhelm.
Kun Huang had a comment that Passa actually touches the citta. Is that an understanding that is generally accepted? I have no idea what you might have meant.
Yes, I think it was a little bit unclear. Passa arises with the citta and contacts the object that is experienced. So at a moment of seeing, it is the visible object that is contacted by the passa. So the passa arises with citta. The citta is the leader that experiences the visible object clearly, but without passa contacting that visible object, not another visible object, seeing couldn't see it. So it depends on which object passa contacts as to what seeing sees at this moment. So it's always the same object as the object of the citta that is experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So the citta and the cetasikas arising together experience exactly the same object. At that moment, it cannot be the seeing itself. It has to, because they're arising with the seeing. But if seeing is the object of understanding, then the citta with understanding and passa and all the other factors would experience that nimitta of seeing.
That's kind of puzzling that, that there is no lapse in time. You know what I mean? And that the pus and the citta are so intrinsically coordinated. But yeah, but it is actually the condition that pus
It has to be that way. It has to be that way by condition. So if they're arising as vipaka, they have to arise exactly together and fall away together. If they're rising as kusala or akusala at the same moment, and it's just such a very brief moment, and then fallen away together.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know this this argument about the brevity of citta. In a sense, a little bit. I feel a little bit. It's a little bit misleading, because we have this teaching or this, let's say, storytelling about the life of the Brahma, for instance, that it is so terribly extended that in terms of the Brahma, our life is just very, very short. Similarly, it could be said that the life of a citta is a certain duration, and so I mean, theoretically, it could happen that the pasa arrives, or the knowing of the pasa or whatever arrives at the moment when the citta is I don't know now the terms, those 3 moments of arising.
Present stage.
Yeah, stage and falling away, that they are separated in the life of the citta, so to speak. So anyway, yeah.
And whatever life one's talking about, whether it's a life of a Brahma or the life of a insect, actually it's just one moment. Life is as short as one moment in truth. So we can talk about conventional lives of different beings, but actually life is just one moment by one moment, one citta by one citta. And a rupa, like hardness, is so brief, but a citta is 17 times briefer, so quick. And the Chaitasika that arises with it, the Chaitasikas that arise with it are also just as brief. Same arising, same middle, same falling away instantly.
Okay, thank you.
Tana Jankup, I would like to ask a question about the Patisambhida. Would you try to explain to me the difference between Atta Patisambhida and Dhamma Patisambhida? I don't know if you're still there, Tanajan. Maybe you're not there.
Can't hear you, John.
Excuse me, I forgot to turn on again. What about the translation of the word?
Well, Atta.
Yes, Dhamma.
Dhamma and sorry, Ajahn, I missed.
Can we understand before we look up at the translation? There must be cause and result. To be skillful in understanding what is the cause and what is the result. So it is Dhamma, the cause, and Atta, the result. I don't know what is the translation from Pali in English or in Thai.
Yeah, it's not so clear. That's why I thought I would ask. Usually, I understand artha to mean meaning. So it's like patisambhita is like the discrimination or the understanding of the meaning. And so I was trying to get a clearer understanding of the difference between that artha, the discrimination or the fine discrimination of meaning, and also Dhamma patisambhita, the fine discrimination of Dhamma. But you're saying, Tanajan, that one is cause and the other one is effect. So
And one is patibana.
Oh yeah, that's the last one. That's so how do you understand that, Tanajan?
What is the cause? If there's no understanding, it is I again. And what is the result? Who knows? What conditions what? For example, thinking. What conditions such thinking? And the atthacita. So the words of the teaching of the Buddha explain about what is the cause and what is the result. And understand it clearly, thoroughly, is the sampita, well-versed or so very skillful in understanding the cause and the result. Atta patisampita, Dhamma patisampita, and then what?
The other one is called Nirutti Patisambhita.
About the meaning of the word, not just the translation.
So
For example, when we use the term Dhamma, what does it mean? Only one meaning or many meanings?
Yeah, many meanings, Ajahn.
And that is Nirutti, about the word in different manners, in different aspects and different ways to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth one,
Patibana.
Ana Patisampita, understand about the truth of what is there, not just the word, and know how to present it for the other to understand it, to begin to think about it, consider its truth in order to understand the truth. Because some can just understand the cause, and some can understand just the result, and some can understand just the meaning of the word. But what about the truth and the way to present it for the other to understand? Not only nirutti, but also patibana, how to help the other to understand such word with such meaning and the deep meaning of it too. For example, if we just use the word satya, see, what is its meaning? The truth of what? What is real at this moment? And what is the truth of it? And what is the satya, being truthful to the truth of it? Never change. Never do anything to understand it, because that is I, not the understanding of that which we take for I, for a long, long time ago. Is it a little clearer?
Yeah. It is Ajahn, Tanajan, and I will listen again to what you had to say about it, because I mean I'm very much a beginner in this area, so I thought I'd bring up this point to have a better understanding of just what those dhammas relate to. And as I said, especially I wasn't very clear between the difference between artha, which has many meanings also, like benefit, gain, advantage, meaning, etc., and Dhamma, which seems to be quite similar. But you've pointed out one is cause and one is result. So I can consider that more also.
I think we use cause and result before, and I think under result it has pala, and for dhamma under cause hetu, so like conditions or different causes. So I think cause and result are good translations in this particular context.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. I'll consider that too.
For example, we just use the word satya What is it? See, it needs all four Patisampida to understand it as it is. The moment of understanding the truth, depending on the confidence of the truth too, because some just take it by word only, but not understanding the truth of it. So it's not subject yet until it's there. So true never change, and it can be realized, it can be experienced directly, and that is subject to the truth of it. Never go to any place because it's useless, because the truth is here and now, right now, and that is subject, and it has to be understanding. All 10 paramis depend on panya to understand the truth. So we understand that being truthful to the truth of what is there now as it is, as no one and nothing, and it's gone. Sunyata, never return, never to arise again. Gradually letting go, the cling to that which appears so much because it is there as something all the time, but the reality which experiences is not known as it is, because one is so very occupied with that which appear as things, story, and food, and as it is all the time. But what about that which experience? No thought about it. So being truthful to the truth, that even at that moment, there must be a reality which arises and experiences that which is seen. Otherwise, that cannot be seen at all. Without that reality, which experience it, see it, and it has conditions for its arising, not just one condition, to understand that actually no one at all. So the idea of I can do is wrong, because actually there are different realities, and this is satya from the very beginning to the end. When this moment so true, why go to the meditation center? See what is about satya, truthful to the truth. Without satya parami, it's impossible to understand directly what is there as it is, because there is some idea to do something or to go somewhere, but no understanding of what is there happening. Strange happening, what is it? No understanding at all. So understanding what is meant by having satya parami, to be truthful to the truth of what is there as it is, and not hesitate to talk about the truth, because it's so very, very precious, so true, that anyone who got it can understand the truth, the benefit, the precious thing as it is. To be truthful to the truth of what? There must be more of seeing, of hearing, of thinking, of liking, of whatever is there. Little by little, in condition. The moment of understanding and letting go, until banya of that degree can appear as it is, as no one at all. It begins from hearing about no one, because what is there? It's there by conditions and then gone. So be truthful to this truth on and on and on and on, until there can be moment of understanding only one reality at moment when it is there. Hardness is there, or sound is there, or light is there, or pain is there. See, only one at a time. And begin to develop the understanding of that reality, that it's unexpectedly appearing, even right now. So understanding, come back to this moment. Just come and see the truth. Ehi pasiko, it's now and here. To be truthful to the truth of it, no other way. So each word can be understood by way of Atta or Dhamma, Nirutti, Patipana.
Thank you, Tanajan. It's very helpful.
The understanding of what is said in the Tipitaka from the word Buddha taught can be understood a little more, a little more, a little more, until it's so clear, until it appears, it reveals itself as it is, to Panya, which have the understanding of its nature as it is. But without understanding the nature of what is there, it's impossible because it is just right now. It's gone. It's there. It's conditioned unexpectedly. But it's not clear. That's why it is only the intellectual understanding which will lead to more and more understanding by conditions. So what happened when it's such level of higher panya? Unexpectedly, it's there. Just like now, unexpected for the next moment to be. Even just another one after this cannot be known, cannot be expected. And when it appears as it is, so clear, that is moment of another level of panya, developed from hearing, considering, and being truthful to the truth, on and on and on. So each word conform the truth of reality. What high understanding experience is just like now, but right now it's not clear because even it arises in false way, even its different characteristic, even it's unexpected, it's not clear until it's clearer little by little, until it reveals itself. It's that just as one had heard right now, but long time before it developed to that degree. And only that person can know, not the other can tell about the others at all. And when there's truthful to the truth, no one can do anything. No one thinking of doing anything, but understanding what is there, little by little, beginning to be aware because of understanding that is so true. It's there because it has conditioned to arise and then fall away instantly, not know yet, but it can be known right now when Panya develops on and on, letting go wrong understanding as what is seen as birds or table or window and so on. It's only that which is seen. And when the truth appears, reveals itself, how short it is, just one, only one at a time. And where are the others? They cannot be mixed there. See, otherwise it cannot be clear enough to let go the idea of self, stage by stage. All depends on understanding. And before there can be the understanding that even understanding itself is not me. What is there now? Feeling, Vedana, and Sanya, and Sankhara Khanda, other Jitasikas, and even Chitta itself are there together in a moment. But what appear to be object of understanding, it is only one at a time. No choice, no selection, depending on what is there. That's why it's so unexpected moment. But it's there by conditions. This is the subject of the truth with adidana, very firm determination. The truth cannot be changed, and it's now, but it's not clear. That's why listen and understanding until time comes, conditions is there. Who knows of what object, of what time? Otherwise, it is I, but it cannot be taken for I because it's so sudden, unexpectedly. What is there now is as it is, as we are talking about, but it does not show up. This is the point, because right understanding is not enough. That's all. So listen, nobody. Right understanding is now developing. Other Cetasika arising, developing together with the Chitta, which understands. Vitaka, Vichara, and so on are there. That's why Buddha taught about everything in order to have conditions for letting go the ideas of self, stage by stage, from intellectual understanding to condition the direct understanding of what is there as very normal, ordinary, just like now, until it is the Katyana, the realization of our reality at a time, one by one, like now. But the intellect and understanding is not clear as the moment when it's there, which has developed on and on and on, ready to let go. So the reality appears as it is, to be, no word. But that characteristic cannot be changed at all. It has its own characteristic, as no one and no thing, no other, but only that. สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you very much, Ajahn.
Thank
Sawadee
you.
ka, kokomaka, anumodana, kanajam.
Uh,
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good week, everyone. See you next
กับเข้า
time.
ท่านอาจารย์ค่ะ
Yeah,
อนุ
thank
โม
you,
ทนา
everyone.
next week. Beautiful
Have a nice weekend.